Have you always been that confident when it comes to your speaking and your presenting?
I've got to sell myself now, right? Okay.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
What could I have done differently? What can I do better? Next time,
Exactly.
keep going. Like you
Exactly.
said, don't give up. And I like it's not easy.
Rob, always a pleasure. Always good working with you.
Likewise, man. It's brilliant to be here. And congrats on the YouTube channel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, for those who don't know, Rob and I, we've actually collaborated on a couple projects over the last few years. He is an entrepreneur I have a ton of respect for. Amazing marketer, amazing speaker. Rob, do you want to get into your background a little bit more?
Oh man, I hope I live up to that introduction. My background is in ESL teaching, and right up until 2020, that's what I was doing. I was working in my home city of Dublin in a language school as an English as a second language teacher, assistant director of studies, and I was doing some teacher training as well. Of course, when the pandemic happened, I moved things online. I started teaching independently, and that was really my introduction into this world of entrepreneurship and like online marketing. And
Mhm.
thankfully, things went quite well. I started making enough money to be able to do that full time. And then by the time 2022 rolled around, I transitioned into helping other teachers make that same jump from working for schools, working for online companies into teaching independently online. And right now my focus is really in helping other teachers with the the gaps, right? So
Sure,
obviously as
sure.
teachers, we don't have much exposure to marketing or selling, but they're
Hmm.
amazing at what they do. They can help people. So really where I come in, I guess, is plugging these gaps around their marketing, helping them, showing them how to attract their own students online, using awesome platforms like LinkedIn to kind of build their business and get their own students and yeah, earn enough to work independently. So it's been amazing. It kind of feels like coming full circle. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a ton of fun.
That is awesome. And something about you that I have always admired from the very first LinkedIn Live I saw you do, you are such an engaging speaker. You really know how to keep an audience engaged. It's obvious you care about what you do. Have you always been that confident when it comes to your speaking and your presenting?
I really appreciate the compliment. The answer is definitely not. So I would consider
Mhm,
myself quite introverted. And when it comes to speaking and speaking in front of people,
mhm,
whether it's, doing a webinar or a video, I think that's really something that I'm just fortunate. So as a teacher, we get so many repetitions at that. Every day
true.
we get in front of a classroom and we've got that immediate feedback as well.
Mhm,
We say
mhm,
something a certain way, we can see the faces, we can see the body language
mhm,
change.
mhm.
And so we go in the next day, we try it a little bit differently. And I think just over time, all of those repetitions really stacked up and I became more comfortable with it. And yeah, I guess those repetitions kind of help develop that that skill to the point where today where it's actually something I really enjoy. And of course, kind of working online, working independently, it's definitely a valuable skill to have.
Completely agree. Yeah, yeah. And I love that point of just repetition itself maybe isn't enough to improve. You got to reflect on it and look at your performance, look at how people are responding to you, and see what you can do to do it better next time.
Totally, man. It's like the teacher that always comes back into the staff room at lunchtime, and it's always the student's fault, no matter which class they're
Oh
teaching or which
yeah, yeah.
level. And it kind of comes a point, well, actually, hang on, maybe
Maybe
I
I'm the
could have come into
problem.
that.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe I could have done that a little bit
Hmm.
differently, or maybe I
Hmm.
could have adjusted my approach. So for sure, I think I like that repetition and reflection. I think with those two things, I think the improvement is inevitable.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I talk about that same thing with my clients that I'm helping with interviews. A lot of people they get stuck in this bad cycle of going into interview after interview, saying and doing the same exact things and then hearing no.
Right.
When you walk out of any important business situation, whether it's an interview, a meeting, a lecture, really try to find one thing that you could do better next time.
I really like that. I really like that, and yeah, even if there's just one thing you can identify that you can improve on. It doesn't really matter what the outcome. Oh, okay, of course the outcome is important,
Of
but it's
course,
still,
yeah.
you still get a little win,
You got
right?
some
Because
value
hey,
out
I
of it.
got better, and
Exactly, exactly.
next time. Yeah, and that can be a really empowering, kind of healthy way to view the process. And
Totally.
I mean, you know yourself in this crazy online teacher entrepreneurship
Mhm.
world. It's something we all need to be reminded of. Every sales call, hey,
Sure,
like
sure.
maybe it's not a win or a lose. Maybe it's, what did I learn? How did I get a little bit better at this
Mhm,
skill?
mhm.
Okay, it's a no, but each no I'm getting better, and each no is moving me closer to the next yes. And yeah, I think it's a good approach to have for sure.
Absolutely, completely agree. So, when it comes to non-native speakers talking in important business situations where they're using English, a lot of people, they're very worried about mistakes. Sometimes they even try to follow a script. I'm sure you've seen that with students you've worked with in the past. What's your opinion on following a script versus making an outline and speaking more naturally? And as a coach, what did you do to help your former students feel more comfortable and confident using English in the workplace?
Oh man, this is such an important area. So
Hmm, hmm.
I think there are a few things there we can touch on, right? Okay, so first is the situation, right? And we know
Hmm,
there are some situations where things like grammatical accuracy may be a little bit more important, and then there are going to be other situations where fluency is more important, and the goal is just
hmm,
communicating your
hmm,
message as effectively as possible. And if you
hmm,
become overly
hmm,
fixated on something like grammatical accuracy, it could actually be a hindrance in those situations. So I think the actual situation is the first thing. Okay, what's the expectation of me in this situation? And then that's a good way of, okay, so the most important thing for me here is to communicate effectively, fluently. If I make one or two little grammatical mistakes, it's not the end of the world, right? But if, I don't know, if it's a situation, right, you need to write a thesis for a university in English, but then of
Sure, that
course
could
you've
be a
got to
little
write.
different.
So the situation, I think, would be the first thing, and then I think the next thing would be the level of skill and experience. So if someone, let's say they're at a lower level and they have less experience or exposure to communicating in a particular situation in English as a non-native speaker, well, then I guess it is okay to lean a little bit more heavily on certain phrases they can use in certain situations.
That
Just
could be true.
having those go-to, functional language phrases so they can navigate the key points. Like right now, I'm in Mexico. My Spanish isn't so good, right? I haven't spent a lot of time studying the grammar book and learning my tenses, but I
Hmm.
have certain go-to phrases where if I'm stuck or I need to order a meal or I need to get my coffee at Starbucks, I have enough to navigate through these situations. So having these go-to phrases that you're comfortable with, you know how to use them, you know when to
Hmm,
use them,
hmm.
can be really useful. But then there comes a point where you've gotta be able to think on your feet a little bit. You gotta
Oh
be
yeah,
able, okay,
yeah.
this thing happened that I wasn't expecting, right? I need to get some experience in that. And yeah, you mentioned working with my clients. So back when I was doing that kind of coaching, it's something we'd work on. All right, let's equip you with, first of all, some key phrases you're going to need so you can get some results quickly. All right,
Hmm,
so
hmm.
take a meeting. Okay, here's what you can use when you're introducing your idea. Here's how you can transition from one topic to another. Here's how you
Sure,
can
sure.
elicit, another member of the team to contribute. So we give them all these useful phrases so they can communicate that effectively, in
Hmm,
a nice, natural sounding way. And
hmm.
then when I get comfortable, okay, now it's time to throw a few spanners here. All right, well, what if this thing happens? How would we deal with this? Okay, here are a few
Hmm.
strategies we can use to navigate. Okay, let's practice this scenario. Let's practice this other
Sure.
scenario. And I think when you're actually working with a client in those sessions, the more closely you can like recreate the way it's going to be in real life, the
Oh
more
yeah.
effective
Oh yeah.
their practice is. So it's a long answer, right? I think if we were to bring it back and just summarize it into some key points,
Mhm.
if you're at a lower level, you don't have a lot of experience in a situation and you don't have a lot of exposure, you know, to that situation, to communicating in English in that situation, perfectly fine. Memorize some key phrases, have them as you go, as
Mhm,
your go-to,
mhm,
your
mhm,
crutch, so you can get through. But then there comes a point where you've got to get that practice in and reacting a little bit more spontaneously, dealing with the unexpected. And
mhm.
yeah, that's something, a teacher or a coach can be a great help with.
Absolutely, yeah. You never know what they're going to ask during the Q&A. You never know if the meeting might run too long. You got to go through your 15-minute presentation in 5 minutes instead. Yeah,
Right
stuff like that
on.
happens in the business world.
Absolutely. If someone just drops in an idiom or colloquialism or just something you've never heard before, ooh,
True,
what do
true.
I do? What can I say here to make this a little
Hmm.
bit less
Hmm.
awkward, you know? So yeah, it can be really useful to kind of practice those different possibilities.
Absolutely. I love your tip about if you're early on, it's okay to have a framework, to have some phrases that you can go to. And as you get more comfortable, as your fluency increases, maybe start to be a little bit more flexible and explain things in the moment.
Totally. I think you kind of have to be a little bit rigid at the beginning,
Mhm.
learning anything,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's marketing, sales, like a language, you've
Very
got to be
true.
a little bit rigid at the beginning to
Yeah, yeah.
learn the right things. And it's only then, okay, I've got this base now, I've got this foundation. Now I can start being a little bit more flexible. So totally okay. Yeah, I'll never turn up my nose at someone who's like memorizing some functional language or key
Mm-hmm.
phrases.
Very true. Yeah, yeah. For both our non-native and our native speaking audience, how about video? Because as you know, in terms of online marketing, video is so powerful if you can do it the right way. And you're great on video. Your short LinkedIn videos are super engaging. What recommendations do you have for being better on camera?
Right question. Yeah, I think right now at the time of recording, right, like video is becoming even more important now because we have this just influx of AI generated content, right? And the
Oh
whole
yeah,
purpose of
yeah.
content is to build trust, right? We know in marketing we say that KLT, know, like, and trust relationship.
Hmm.
Well, how is anyone going to trust you if they don't know if you wrote this or if you just spat a prompt into chat
Hmm.
GPT and
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
copy and paste it. So video right now is a really good medium. Still, it's relatively small number of people are taking advantage of it. So
That
if
is
you
true.
do
Yeah.
start to leverage it, it's a great way to kind of, you know, make yourself stand out and really build a higher level of KLT with your audience. So I think, like, if anyone watching this is thinking about using video, I think it's a uh, really good time to be
Hmm.
thinking about ways
Hmm.
you can leverage it. When it comes to getting better at it, I would go back to what we touched on earlier about repetitions. So
Hmm. Hmm.
video was never something I like felt particularly comfortable in. And I think
Hmm.
when it comes to this topic of video, there's this limiting belief out there. Oh, this person's a natural, right? Or this person was born with that skill,
Hmm.
and which sound on the surface seems okay, but if you really break it down, what are you telling yourself if you go around kind of viewing people in that way? Some people are born with this. Some people are naturally good at this. Therefore, some people aren't. And that's a really limiting belief. And
Hmm.
what I've
Hmm.
found is when you actually like look at the people out there who seem to be really good and seem to be really comfortable on camera and are making really engaging videos, when you kind of look beneath the surface, I bet 99.9% of the time, they've just done more repetitions than you. They've
That can
just
be
done it
very
more
true.
times. They've
Yeah.
sat in
Yeah.
front of the camera. They've gone through it. They've had the bad takes. They've tried again. They've put
Yes.
it out there, trial and error. And I always, when I'm working with clients on this now, I always use Gary V as an example, right?
Mm,
So
okay.
Gary V, massively successful entrepreneur right now, one of the most well-known marketers, kind of motivational speakers in
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
world, right? Multi-millionaire. Video is a huge asset in terms of his marketing, in terms of his business, his ability to speak on camera. I always show my clients there's this video on YouTube floating around from Gary Vee in 2006, and it's one of his first businesses. And he's
Mhm.
speaking, and it is not the Gary Vee you'll see today in 2024.
Mm.
It is a different person. And to bring it back to the point, it'd be so easy to look at someone like Gary Vee and be like, oh, this person just has it. He's, I don't know, charismatic. He's a natural. He's born with it. The evidence is out there that he wasn't, right? And
Mhm.
he was
Mhm.
able to get himself up to that level. So if you see where he started and where he's at now, that's actually so encouraging because it shows, even if you're someone thinking, no, I'm not that good on video, it's not like about the naturals and the non-naturals. It's like, just if you're brave enough and motivated enough to do your repetitions, you
Mhm,
can get to
mhm.
get to that level. Anyone can get to that level. I truly believe that.
Awesome. That is such great advice. Yeah, yeah. And not just in terms of being great on video. A lot of people with these successful businesses, people who are in really high positions in their careers, there were so many failures along the way. Like, out of all the business coaches I've ever had, the guy that's the most financially successful and the most brilliant, his first product was a total failure. And the second one, it didn't become profitable until like their 24th advertisement or something like that. So, yeah,
I
it is not just this easy road to the top. Most people, they had tons of failures and they just didn't give up.
I think that's such a key point. And like I've
Mhm.
heard it said before, the people with the most success are the people who just failed the most times. The key is right, they're failing
Sure,
forward.
sure.
It's like you mentioned earlier, like repeat, reflect, right? Oh, I messed
Hmm.
up.
Hmm.
Oh, this thing didn't get the result I wanted. This
Hmm.
campaign
Hmm.
didn't go that well. I didn't get the job, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
what could I have done differently? What can I do better next time?
Exactly,
Keep going. Like you
exactly.
said, don't give up. And I like it's not easy, man. Like
Hmm.
we've done hundreds of videos now.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
still takes me a lot of mental strength to actually just sit down. I'm gonna record a piece of video content today,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
whatever you need to do, whatever you need to tell yourself, whether it's reminding yourself of the reason you're doing it in the first place, like your motivation,
Hmm. Hmm.
having a coffee, whatever, like drinking some
Sure. Put
pre-workout that
yourself in
you've
the best
actually
state
done
you can be
before.
in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Any way you can kind of get yourself into just getting these repetitions done,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
it really will pay off.
Absolutely. Great advice. So, where can people follow and learn more from you?
Yeah, so right now I'm most active over on LinkedIn. So Robbie Kane,
Yeah,
just give it a
I'll put a
search.
link below.
Awesome. And yeah, in terms of what I share content about, my audience right now, it's teachers, but I talk a lot about marketing, video content, like we've talked about today, entrepreneurship in general, speaking at webinars. So if any of those topics are of interest, then it'd be wonderful to connect with you and yeah, drop me a message, say hello.
Absolutely. And I know that you offer marketing, business, and sales coaching for teacher entrepreneurs. What do you feel is your unique selling point? What makes you as a coach special?
I've got to sell myself now, right? Okay.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
um, there's a lot of coaches out there and there are a lot of programs out there.
Mhm.
So I think one thing that has worked particularly well for my clients is I know some programs are going to give you theory and teach you, okay, here's some of the principles behind marketing or copywriting, or content strategy. And then there are like done for you programs where it's going to be, okay, we'll write your LinkedIn profile for you, or
Mhm.
we'll create your
Mhm.
content for you. So I think when I work with one-on-one clients, I try to kind of take the best out of both of those aspects. I want to teach people
Mhm.
the underlying principles, the psychology, so they can continue, to replicate the results after we stop working
Mhm.
together. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like doing the heavy lifting, as much as possible, I do it together in the sessions with my
Mm.
clients. So it's not like we're going to have a session. I'm going to talk about what makes a good LinkedIn profile. And then you're going to go away for a week and you're going to do it yourself. It's
Mhm.
okay. Here are the important things we need to keep in mind. Let's write your profile together during this session. And that way they
Love
kind of come
that.
out of it. And the cool thing about this, or like whatever, right? We're gonna write your post introducing yourself to your audience. Here are the key things we need to do. Here are the mistakes we need to avoid. Let's sit down. Let's draft it
Mhm.
together. So at
Mhm.
the end of the session, you'll have it ready to go and we can post it. So by working in that way, it means even when you're kind of gone, people aren't dependent on you because they've learned the principles, they've learned the do's and the don'ts and
Yeah,
what to
yeah.
continue doing. But the most important things, you actually do it together in the session. And when that happens, it means, okay, even in a 4 to 6 week program, people can still make significant progress. So, yeah, that's a really big focus in my coaching. Like these most important things, I'm not going to set you off and give it to you for homework and you're going to do it
Mm.
outside the sessions. No, as much as possible, we're going to do these things together in the sessions. So they walk away having these kind of, we do a lot of the foundational work during the sessions, which the clients appreciate. And it's worked well, you know, and it's something I'm quite proud of in terms of the way the program is set up.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. You're giving them a fish and teaching them how to fish. You don't need to just
That's
shoot
the goal.
fish.
That's the goal. That's the analogy I had in my mind when,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse, right? Like you buy a program, you know, you spend some money on it, and then the coach is like, okay, I want you to go away and do all of these things, and it just creates this stress, and it's like, nah, all right,
That's
awesome,
why I signed up. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, no, okay. So here's the link. Don't worry about anything. We're gonna go through everything together. We're gonna have an introductory session, and it's like it just reassures people that they're in good hands. And
Hmm.
you know, something I learned the hard way, man. Because I remember when I like first started putting coaching programs together, I used to think the
Hmm.
more I give someone, the
Hmm.
better. So I'd have all of these pre-session one tasks where I'd have to go away and do a ton of research about their niche and send me these documents. And I was like, this is great because they're going to get the best results from the program. And in reality, people were probably getting stressed out and,
Yeah, it can
you
be
know, so
overwhelming. Hmm.
I think any advice for anyone out there who's putting a coaching program together, as much as possible, do the work with your client in the session. They'll appreciate it and they'll get more value
Hmm.
out of your program as well. I'm not saying don't give them action tasks to do in between, but the most important stuff, whenever possible, do it with your client together. Be present for that.
That is fantastic advice. Completely agree. Sometimes as coaches, it's so easy to forget that our audience doesn't have all the knowledge we do. So, a task that we could go away by ourselves and do with relative ease can be a huge challenge for them, especially if they don't have any guide or foundational knowledge first.
Man, it's so easy to forget,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's one thing, man. I remember back in early pandemic times,
Hmm.
I did this little course on how to become a personal trainer. So that would be a cool thing, you know, it'd be a cool
Sure,
thing to
sure.
know, a
Make
cool thing
make
to
a
have.
little money on the side, yeah.
Right, man. And I remember one of the best pieces of advice I got from like the teacher of this course was now you know the terminology, right? So like instead of saying the chest, you might say you got the pectoral major and minor, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to be the coach that goes in and you've got like 65-year-old Mary who's never stepped into a gym before, and you're like, okay, Mary, in our first session, we're gonna work on your triceps, we're gonna work on your pectoral minor. And it's like I'm showing what I know. I know these fancy terms, but the key is you want to
Hmm.
communicate at whatever level the client is at to make them feel at ease, to make them feel comfortable, and to get your message across as
Absolutely.
much as possible. And I just thought that like really that was 4 or 5 years ago now, and I just like clarified it in my mind so much. Don't be
Hmm.
one of those teachers or coaches that like throws out these fancy terms just to show, hey, look what I know, look what I studied. If your audience don't know them, no, like you always want to be communicating at whatever level your audience or your clients are at.
Amazing advice. That is great, Rob. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, man, sharing all these great tips. This has been great.
No, man, it's always a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, man, it's awesome about the YouTube channel. 11,000 subscribers, so you know I can only see that, and that's gonna grow and grow and grow.
Thank you so much, man. So yeah, guys, I will put Rob's stuff below. Give him a follow. He is someone that shares so much value on LinkedIn. Whatever you're interested in, communication, marketing, business, he's got some stuff that can help you. And Rob, thank you again for your time.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure. I was working in my home city of Dublin as
Mhm.
sorry, did we freeze?
Oh, dude, there is I don't know why this happens, Rob. Ever since upgrading the operating system of my PC, my camera freezes for like 10 seconds every 30 minutes or so. I have no
Oh,
idea how to fix it, but I'm still here. The connection's just fine.
that's really good to know because I thought it was one of them where I lost my connection
Oh no,
and
you're good. If
is
if I ever freeze, I'm still here.
got it. Okay, okay, that's
Okay,
perfect to know.
perfect. How about you just restart from the like Grant, I was an ESL teacher.
Perfect.